Every paycheck you get, a chunk of it disappears before you even see it. No warning, no asking, just gone. And most of us just accept it. We shrug, move on, and spend the rest complaining about it at dinner. But here's the thing, most people have no idea what that money actually does, or what happens if you just stop paying it. So, today we're going to answer two very uncomfortable questions. Why do we pay taxes at all? And what actually happens if you don't? Let's start at the very beginning. Taxes aren't a modern invention. They're basically as old as civilization itself. Ancient Egypt, Rome, the Chinese Han Dynasty. Every organized society figured out the same thing pretty quickly. If you want roads, armies, and someone to put out fires, somebody has to pay for it. Fast forward to America in 2024, same idea, different scale. The US government collected about $4.9 trillion in taxes last year. That's not a typo. That's $4.9 trillion with a T. And that money funds, well, almost everything you interact with daily. The highway you drove on this morning, the school your kid goes to, the Medicare your parents rely on, the military keeping the country from being invaded, the FDA making sure your food isn't secretly poisonous. Taxes pay for all of it. Now, is it perfectly efficient? No. Is every dollar well spent? Definitely not. But the concept of pooling resources for shared services, that's actually pretty logical. Okay, but where does your specific tax dollar go? Let's break it down using the most recent federal budget. The biggest slice, about 25%, goes to Social Security. That's retirement and disability benefits for over 70 million Americans. Next up, about 15% goes to Medicare and Medicaid, health coverage for seniors and low-income families. Then there's defense, roughly 13%, covering the military, veterans benefits, and national security. Interest on the national debt, unfortunately, that's eating up about 13% too. Yeah. The government also has a credit card bill. The rest goes to things like education, infrastructure, science, diplomacy, housing assistance, and federal operations. Here's what this means for you specifically. If you're a median U.S. worker earning around $60,000 a year, after standard deductions, you're likely paying somewhere in the ballpark of $6,000 to $8,000 in federal income tax. That's your contribution, not to one thing, but to the entire system. Now look, I get it. This is the part where a lot of people get frustrated. I didn't vote for this. I don't use any of that stuff. The government wastes my money anyway. These are real valid feelings. And honestly, tax policy in America is genuinely complicated and controversial. People disagree about how much we should pay, who should pay more, and what it should fund. That debate is totally legitimate. But here's a neutral, actual point worth sitting with. Taxes are the price of a functional society. Even if you think they should be lower or higher, some version of them has existed in literally every civilization that scaled beyond a small village. The question was never really if, it's always been how much and for what. And as a professional living in America right now, understanding the system, even if you disagree with parts of it, puts you in a way better position than just being angry about it. Okay, now for the part everyone secretly clicked this video for. What actually happens if you just don't pay? Let's walk through it, because it's not as simple as you get in trouble. It's a process, and it escalates fast. Stage 1, penalties and interest, day 1 to months. The IRS doesn't immediately send agents to your door. First, they hit you with penalties and interest. If you file but don't pay, that's a 0.5% monthly penalty on what you owe, up to 25% of your total bill. If you don't file at all, that's even worse, 5% per month, also capped at 25%, plus interest on top of everything, tied to the federal rate. This compounds quietly. while you're ignoring it. Stage 2, notices, liens, and levies, months to 1 to 2 years. After sending a series of increasingly serious notices, which most people either ignore or panic about, the IRS can issue a tax lien. A lien is a legal claim against your property. It gets filed publicly, which means your credit score tanks. Buying a house, complicated. Getting a business loan, harder. And if you still don't respond, they escalate to a tax levy, which is when they actually take your stuff. We're talking garnishing your wages directly from your employer, draining your bank account, seizing your car, property, or other assets. And here's the part people don't realize. Your employer gets notified. The IRS sends them a legal document. Your HR department gets a letter telling them to send part of your check directly to the federal government. Uncomfortable? Extremely. Stage 3, criminal charges, rare but real. Now, most people who owe back taxes don't go to prison. The IRS mainly wants its money, not to lock you up. But tax evasion, intentionally hiding income or lying on your return, is a federal felony. Up to 5 years in prison, up to $250,000 in fines. Public record, career ending for many professions. Famous examples: Al Capone, one of America's most notorious gangsters, wasn't taken down by murder charges. He went to prison for tax evasion. Wesley Snipes, Willie Nelson, Lauryn Hill all faced serious legal consequences for tax issues. The IRS has a long memory and a very good paper trail. Okay, so what's the actual takeaway here? If you're a working professional, here's the practical stuff. 1. File your taxes every year, even if you can't pay. Filing and not paying is much better than not filing at all. The failure to file penalty is 10 times worse. 2. If you owe and can't pay, contact the IRS proactively. They have payment plans, installment agreements, in some cases, even offers and compromise where you settle for less than you owe. But you have to engage. 3. Understand your withholding. If you're an employee, your W-4 determines how much is taken out each paycheck. Getting a huge refund every year? That just means you over-withheld. You gave the government an interest-free loan. Adjust your W-4 to keep more of your money throughout the year. 4. Know the basics of what's deductible, DON and student loan interest, home mortgage interest, charitable donations, contributions to your 401k or IRA. These all reduce your taxable income legally. And if your situation is complex, freelance income, investments, rental properties, work with a CPA, it's usually worth it. Look, taxes are annoying. Nobody's arguing that. But understanding why they exist, where your money goes, and what happens when you ignore them puts you miles ahead of most people your age. Because here's the truth. Financial adulting isn't just about investing and saving. It's about knowing the rules of the game you're already playing. If this video helped even a little bit, hit like. It genuinely helps the channel grow. And if you want a deep dive on legal ways to reduce your tax bill, that video is next. We're talking 401ks, HSAs, tax loss harvesting, the good stuff. I'll see you there.